Well, the project began last summer when Anne emailed me in June and asked if I wanted to put together, write, and direct a play about forest health and fire prevention, and I immediately said yes. I just was thrilled at the idea of the project.
And what we were trying to do is to teach children about the forest restoration, health of the forest, what the forest looked like before settlers came here, how they became unhealthy, and what we could do to restore the health of the forest. Also, part of the messaging for this program was to teach kids about fire safety and flash flood mitigation and safety.
Theater is such a vibrant art, and we knew going into the community that for many, many, many students, this would be their first contact with the theater arts. And so that was very important to me and a responsibility I didn't handle lightly. So how could we entertain and educate? I think either in a balance or in that order. We wanted to make them laugh, so we didn't want to go and lecture to them for an hour. We wanted forest to come alive. We had forestry professor from NAU come in and talk to the students, forestry students. We coordinated with our science teachers here on campus, and we wanted to be faithful and make sure that everything that we were talking about was accurate and true to what was going on in our world, in our community.
Yeah, that's really good. And so some of these changes that we've been talking about of having a forest that would have had some really big trees are actually pretty resistant to fire because the branches are high up, fire can pass through the surface below and not necessarily turn into a crown fire like the Schultz fire when it burns through the tree crowns. Xylem cells are wood, and phloem is a narrow band on the outside of the wood but underneath the bark that conducts the nutrients. So the xylem tissues carry water from the roots up to the leaves, keep the top of the tree alive. The leaves are producing sugars that get sent back down through the phloem to keep the roots alive. So that's how the whole thing works. And that thin band of living tissue has what's called a tissue that can grow and reproduce. It's alive, and it's called the cambium.
So you have things like biodiversity of the understory, but at the same time, is it too crowded in the overstory? Are all your trees competing for the same resources? Do you have diseases? Do you have funguses, which are natural? Some of them are natural, some of them are not. So there's defining a healthy forest is extremely complicated.
And a lot of it is about behavior. Not necessarily how big the fire was, how is the fire behaving? Because fires behave differently depending on different conditions that those fires are burning under. And Pete introduced some of that, the concept of really different kinds of fire in the forest.
So I think what we're trying to create is really that historic state, then what happened because of overgrazing, logging, and then how we're going to return the forest back to a healthy state, and that is, happening and ongoing. We just see this as being really exciting, and you all can go, wow, I wrote, I was part of this, and you're going to be, I think, really, really proud.
I want you to kind of go and get away from each other and be quiet and start to just brainstorm ideas that you have about characters, about plot, about just what you see in this play. What is the question that we're asking with this play? What's the primary question that's being asked in this play? The woods in Shakespeare are what? Transformation. You go into the woods to become something new, and then you leave the woods having been transformed.
We wanted fire as a character, but we also didn't want to tell young children to go out and set fires. So what if we had fire as the protagonist and the antagonist? Like the prescribed burns would be the protagonist, and the Schultz fire would be the antagonist.
What if we did it more like a Giving Tree kind of situation?
That's what I
where a character goes in and he meets a tree that is alive. He's not imagining it being alive, it is alive. That's where the magic comes in. And then you begin to care about trees. And then it's not the creatures or the imaginary friends around them, it's the actual trees that you care about.
And you guys become the tree right there. Yeah, become the tree right there, so I can kind of circle back.
We are too close together. We need the fire back in our relationship. Haven't been burned in years. I need a good burn.
Very good. What was that little noise you were doing as you came in, Winston?
For next class, we can read East of the Sun, West of the Moon. Let's get the hero's journey out again. Let's get the goals that they want us to cover. Let's get this Norse mythology, and let's start to outline what it is this play is going to start to look like. A rough outline. Another idea that came up today is what if each of us wrote the opening scene, and we picked the best opening scene and went from there. That might be interesting.
We split off into a bunch of groups and we followed the hero's journey where it's like crossing the threshold into the dark abyss, like all that sort of nonsense, the same thing that Luke Skywalker did. And we split into groups and we all wrote scenes for that, and then when that was covered, we all wrote the same scene, and whichever was the best one was picked. The worst part is when you had a really good idea and you knew that you wanted it in there, but nobody else was really supportive of it. Getting all of your ideas on paper with everybody else's ideas, 15 kids' ideas all in one area, was really overwhelming. It was a lot to work with, which was nice. It's better to have more material, or too much material than too little material.
What if she, yes! What if she goes out and then all of a sudden this boy in a cape and goggles flies up to her? And it's the next door neighbor or something like that.
I think I would feel better if it wasn't sibling.
Who are you? I know you're a skunk, but what's your name?
My name is Skunk.
Okay.
Well, we better be off now.
We're on a super secret mission from Major Trino's Crinkle.
Did he send you?
Yes.
Okay. Would
Would you stop crying now for me?
I am king of the forest! Ah!
Good. We could always use more scientists.
The only thing in this stupid forest, stupid trees, stupid boys with goggles on top of their heads.
Hey! The mission will take you through the forest, and you will come to know everything that surrounds you.
And when we first got this script, I was thinking about my theater class and thinking about how everyone would react to it. And I honestly thought that we wouldn't be able to pull it off because it's just such a huge step for us to act like a coyote, to get out of our fringe character roles and step into a children's play so we can get information out there but while being comedic.
I did like it. I felt like it was presented in a way that kids would be able to understand without it like being boring, but it still like gives them everything they need to know.
Tree play. At first, I was really hesitant to do it, and then during the process, I was still really worried about pulling it together with all the costumes, and then
When I first heard that I was playing the role of Max, I'm like, whoa, wow, that's cool. And like everybody was saying like, don't mess up. You have a lot of lines. Don't mess up. I'm like, I won't. I promise. I won't.
And kind of kicked off the school year with having my three-dimensional art class make all the masks for the fire and water scene at the end. We did kind of competition style, and the 7 best masks from each got to be in the play.
And in that initial meeting, we just thought of, you know, images of the Lion King and how we could really create a dynamic costumes and props and all of that. So it started out with absolute true excitement, and then as we brought it into the classroom and Emma came in and directly worked with the students, it was a little overwhelming and daunting.
It was really kind of hard because it would have been a lot easier if we were on a stage building the props, but we were in this small classroom. So I tried to use visual aids and character boards to kind of talk about the different properties that the characters had, and then develop some kind of form of costume or prop that would go along with the characters.
I think they turned out phenomenal. The students really enjoyed seeing their masks up on stage, and they did a great job with the project.
Alright, so let's start with Mountain Lion because he's the coolest. Almost complete. But this is the lion, and he's got a little elastic underneath. And so he's going to have like a bib and gloves too, and he's got like a big tail. And he's a little easier to see with. So, and he's just like another puppet. Do the hair flip. The drama students really took the props and just ran with them, and they were such little talented performers. I was amazed at how animated everything looked after they got a hold of it, and how much personality they brought to the props as well.
She has 2. I just saw fire. Are you trying to trick me? I just saw the element of fire.
Oh, okay.
Max, I just saw fire.
I didn't see anything. Are you trying to trick me?
No, I just saw the element fire.
Emily, how many times do I have to tell you? Fire is not just an element. It is so much more. You can feel fire. It burns people, things, makes warmth. It's constructive and destructive, a friend and an enemy. Fire is definitely not just simply an element.
And the flooding that follows them.
We depend on the forest now and for future generations.
Yes, but before that, it's not an easy task, but it's very important. Humans, plants, animals, and big trees like me all depend on the forest.
It's not an easy task, but humans, plants, animals and trees like me depend on the forest. Now and for future generations.
And plus, I don't have time to play with girls who play with cats. I'm on a super secret mission for Major Trino's Crinkle Bark.
Who?
Major Trino's Crinkle Bark.
And who is Major Trino's Crinkle Bark?
Only the biggest and bestest and smartest and tallest and wisest ponderosa pine tree in the entire forest.
You're taking orders from a tree?
A ponderosa pine tree.
Whatever, they're just trees.
Hi there, Mr. Snake!
Mr. Snake is my father. My name is Timmy. Just a snake.
Fire has been very important, and acknowledging that and giving that to us and giving us credit is a great gift. I know that the Forest Service experimented with it, and they found out that our stories were true in California, but they still didn't allow it. And so I'm glad that somebody's acknowledging that, and in some way that it can go back to our people, and that they too can return to a place of where they can gain that kind of understanding. So I'm very proud of you guys. Very good job.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah? What was your favorite part?
of it. I thought it was pretty funny. I like the owls.
Definitely. I felt like if we had performed this in front of adults, I would have gone about it differently because you have more of a maturity level when you're with adults, but when you're surrounded by 500 little children, you really feed off of their energy, and it's okay to act like you're 5.
Emily, you've been in front of this TV all morning. You need to turn it off for a while. But Mom! Fire and water. I've flown with the birds, the trees, and I've overturned the castle. And right now, I am about to come face to face with the gnome, Mom! The gnome!
One other thing with keeping the kids' attention, which I thought was the most important thing, obviously, because regardless of how well the show goes, you want to keep them happy, is keeping that constant energy and feeding that to them. I was exhausted after every, I went home and slept for 12 hours.
Yeah, it was a lot different. I'd never really expected to have such a hard time with a child's play because I thought, maybe it would be easier than adult drama, but it takes so much energy out of you. It's fun.
My name is Harry. Hello? You don't look Harry. You look feathery. Well, excuse me. No, my name is Harry. I'm a Harry Woodpecker.
The first show that we did, that was a total wreck for us because the audience wasn't into it. We weren't particularly into it. We didn't know what to expect. Like I said, it's a totally different type of theater experience. It's not traditional. You're not. You're interacting with the audience in a whole different way.
When our cast was saying something funny, you just hear like a wave of laughter. It was just made me happy.
So, Uncle Jack wasn't stupidly in effect. That is he is now.
Like, there's this feeling that you get when you perform a play in one spot all the time, and there's different people, but there's this other feeling, and it's just more exhilarating when you can tour around. It seems like when you go to different places, the news gets spread more, and it's like, oh, I really hope they're coming here next, or I know they're coming there next, I have to go see them. And
transportation was another big issue. How are we going to, because as I watched Emma and our art teachers build all these props and costumes, it was like, how are we going to get these to schools so we can set up and take down within 15 minutes?
The traveling aspect was definitely challenging. It took a lot of effort to get everything out of the cars and trucks and put the trees up and everything and get everything ready in less than 20 minutes. The kids' reaction definitely, our play depended on whether they were excited or bored, and when they were dead, it was really hard to get them to laugh and start it up in the middle of the play.
I felt like the kids were really excited whenever anything new came out.
There were times when we would perform this play where you would get the sense that we were at a rock concert. The kids would just get so into it. And as the play developed and progressed from the first performance to the last, it became a lot more interactive because the kids were so in tune with what was going on the stage, and the energy was so magnificent. So.
What's this weird looking plant right here? Look, it's a coyote!
I speak to elements all the time.
I remember in every performance, Crinklebark would open his eyes and start talking, and you would feel this common breath of wow from the audience. So, and everything that Crinklebark had to say was educational, but it was also, just from his appearance, totally entertaining.
And so could I.
Major! I hear every word you're saying.
Oh!
Ah!
They loved meeting us afterwards. They treated us like we were rock stars.
I got to do a high five wave at the end, and they were on bleachers, so I went along the front row and I did a high five wave, and then I signed a couple autographs, and the kids kind of mobbed me.
What was your favorite part of the play, little boy? Everything. Everything. That's fantastic. Well, you better be off. Bye-bye. Toodaloo. Yes, high five or high nub. I don't know what I have. All right, toodaloo. Be good. Listen to your teacher. High five.
We have a special occasion today. We have this Mark Sanchez Memorial, and this is an award that we've been giving out for the past 21 years. And this year, Fala is the 21st recipient of this award, and your name is on the plaque. Typically, very well deserved. You're promoting fire safety in the community, and that saves lives. And there's no better reward than knowing that you're a part of that. So on behalf of the Flagstaff Fire Department, the mayor, the city council, we want to present this award to Fala. That's very much deserved. Congratulations.
I feel, as far as spreading the message of forest health and fire prevention awareness, I congratulate the advanced creative writing class for writing an effective script that conveyed the message, but kept it subtle. It was less in your face, here we're going to teach you a lesson, because no kid wants to go along with that. They want, a quick fix, immediate entertainment first, and that's what we gave to them. But I feel like, if they were paying attention, which, all eyes were on stage, I feel like they definitely got, the hidden meaning out of it. Which is good. It makes me happy. I feel like I've done something.
I think they learned stuff. Like I definitely think that they took in a lot more knowledge than they thought. But I know that our first and foremost goal was to entertain, and then there was probably to make sure that they're actually retaining the material. And I think we achieved both.
And what we were really hoping to interject through this messaging is that it's a reverse flow of information, so that these kids go home and they sit at the dinner table with their parents and say, I saw this talking tree at school today, and their parents are going to say, what are you talking about? And they're going to tell them whatever they picked up from the story. They might tell them, well, I want to be a scientist, because the little boy Max in the play constantly talks about wanting to be a scientist. Or they might even tell them about invasive species, and their parents are going to say, what's an invasive species?
When I had initially said yes to the project, I didn't quite understand the scope, the magnitude of what we were going to do. And the outcome was among the most gratifying experiences I've had as an educator in all these years. I mean, the response from the community, the response from the elementary students was remarkable.
It was magic to actually see the performance kind of come together, to kind of come to fruition was just beautiful.
And the tree play was one of the best theater experiences I've had.
I don't even know how to describe it, because theater's since I started coming to Fala, theater's always been what I've wanted to do with the rest of my life. But I think after this play, I think I want to go into children's theater.
It took up such a huge aspect of my life, and I put so much time and effort into it, and I felt like I got so much out of it.
I was really excited about the project, and I had so much fun doing it. I hope the students had as much fun as I did. I hope they had half as much fun as I did.
It was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do it again.